Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cristina Corteva. I am Executive Director of the Sno-Isle Libraries Foundation, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 2025 Trudy Sundberg Lecture Series. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we present this program from the traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples and honor with gratitude the land itself and many tribes who have stewarded it for generations. The lecture series was created in honor of beloved Whidbey Island teacher and civic leader Trudy Sundberg. It has been a joy and an honor to be able to bring to Whidbey Island inspiring, exceptional speakers representing some of the brightest minds in the nation. Trudy was a much-loved school teacher in Oak Harbor and a mentor and advocate for young adults. In her honor, each year the series brings our featured speakers to a local Whidbey Island school. Yesterday, we had a great time having Shane and Hannah present at Coolfield High School. It was a truly unforgettable experience seeing the students' excitement, reactions, and very thoughtful questions. We had over 200 students and teachers in attendance. We look forward to continuing to engage and inspire local youth with this program. Last week, we kicked off the series with our first presenter, Kimber Cross, at the Cookville Library. Those of you who were able to join us were truly in for a treat. Kimber is an incredible young woman, a climber who uses a prosthetic tool to climb on waterfall, ice, and rock around the country. And she is the first disabled person to serve as a climb lead for the mountaineers. Her passion and courage were contagious. Now I'd like to take a moment and acknowledge some of the people in the audience tonight. And first, I'd like to thank our planning committee members. They worked tirelessly to bring this year's lectures to you. Please raise your hand if you serve on the committee. I also want to thank our generous sponsors. You could see their names on the screen earlier. These are all wonderful local businesses and organizations, and without their support, this program would not be possible. Let's give them a big round of applause. I also want to acknowledge the Foundation board members and members of the Sno-Isle Libraries Board of Trustees who are with us this evening. Please raise your hand if you serve on the Foundation or Library Board. Also with us today is Sno-Isle Libraries' new Executive Director, Eric Howard. Where are you, Eric? Oh, okay. And I also want to thank Warren and Courtney, who are our ASL team tonight. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we love the opportunity to host this event at this beautiful venue. And we've had it here for over 10 years. Let's give a round of applause to Whidbey Island Center for the Arts and its amazing staff and volunteers. The Sno-Isle Libraries Foundation is the library's nonprofit fundraising partner. In addition to offering this lecture series as a gift to the community and local schools, the foundation helps fund a wide range of programs, innovative library programs and services on both Island and Snohomish counties. These include early literacy programs, author talks, classes for teens and adults of all ages, supporting the library collection, facility upgrades, and many others. The support from the foundation is in addition to public funding, and our work is made possible thanks to community members like you. If you enjoy these presentations, please consider supporting the Trudy Sundberg Lecture Series with a gift of any amount that is meaningful to you. You can use the QR code in your program or the provided envelope to make a donation and support our work. Please know that the series is 100% community-powered, and every donation helps and makes a difference. Tonight we were going to hear from Trudy's granddaughter, Trudy Sundberg. Unfortunately, Christine came down with a cold and couldn't join us. She looks forward to being with us next year. But I'm excited to share that Trudy's grandson, Sean Whitsitt, is here with us tonight, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Trudy. Please join me in welcoming Sean Whitsitt.
Ooh, it's bright here. Just maybe quick show of hands. Who here knows or knew Trudy Sundberg or knows who she is? I was tasked with writing a speech this morning on my way to a doctor's appointment, so I'm going to try to curate it. Okay, so a good amount of people. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. By the way, I'm the least articulate of the three grandchildren. My sister crushed this speech last year. I'm sure Kristen was going to do an excellent job tonight. And you're all stuck with me for the next 2 to 3 minutes. So good evening, everyone. Like Christina said, my name is Sean Whitsitt, and it is a profound honor to stand before you tonight to share a few words about a woman whose impact on Whidbey Island and beyond continues to resonate deeply, and that woman is my grandmother, Trudy James Sundberg. She would have been 100 exactly 3 weeks ago, celebrating her birthday. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that's pretty cool. We love you, Grandma. Each year, this lecture series brings together people to reflect on the values and passions that define Trudy's life: education, literature, history, the arts, civic engagement, and politics, just to name a few. These weren't just subjects she taught or discussed. They were the very fabric of her existence. She believed in the power of ideas, the necessity of debate, and the importance of lifelong learning. It is fitting that her name is now associated with an event that fosters thoughtful discussion and intellectual curiosity. Trudy was a teacher in the truest sense of the word, not just in the classroom where she spent, I had 40 years written, my mom said 30, I'll just say decades, inspiring students, but in the way she lived her life. Whether she was coaching a debate team to a state championship, writing about women's rights, founding a local political organization, or many, or helping establish a public library, she was always working to educate, to inform, and to empower others. She didn't just want people to learn, she wanted them to think critically, to ask hard questions, and to engage with the world around them. I was lucky enough to experience this firsthand. Trudy, side note, Trudy, super successful in all that she did. Maybe a couple failures that she might have put out of her mind were trying to teach me a proper swimming stroke, or working with me on how to hit a tennis ball, two things she was better than I at. But she taught me that knowledge and curiosity were more than just personal pursuits. They were responsibilities. She had a rare ability to connect with people in a very uniquely personal way, making each person feel seen and valued. And just sitting with my mom for 10 minutes, at least 2 or 3 people came over and told a story that I could have inserted into here, and it's absolutely incredible. She could talk to anyone about literature, politics, economics, music, pop culture. She knew who Justin Bieber was before my sister. And even sports, with the same grace, warmth, and fierce intelligence. Oftentimes, I would reciprocate her honesty by saying, "Grandma, I have no idea who that is or what you're talking about." And she would somehow find a way to make an obscure Victorian poet relatable. But beyond her impressive achievements, what made Trudy truly remarkable was her character. She was strong-willed, yet passionate, brilliant, yet humble, determined, yet full of humor. She didn't just tell people to care about the world, she showed them. I'd written this story about going to I went to a neighborhood dinner, progressive dinner. At the time, I thought progressive meant political, but it means you go from one house to the next. And this person I just met said she was from Oak Harbor, and I said, oh, where'd you go to high school? She said, Oak Harbor High. I said, any chance Trudy Sundberg means anything to you? And without hesitation, she said, oh my God, she changed my life. I think about her all the time. She was my English teacher. I hated English, reading and writing, until I had Trudy as a teacher. And now I can't imagine my life without those things. As evidenced by that story and countless more, as I've just heard 3 more in 10 minutes, her impact on this community is undeniable. Many of you here tonight were her students, her colleagues, her friends, and family, so you know firsthand the influence she had on those around her. And through this lecture series, that impact continues. Trudy understood that learning never stops. Lost where I was. That curiosity has no expiration date, and that one voice, one passionate, engaged, fearless voice, even when it's coming from a woman who probably weighed less than 100 pounds soaking wet, can make a difference. So as we gather here tonight, let us not only honor her memory, but also embody the spirit of her work. Let us question, discuss, and challenge ourselves. Let us advocate for what is right and encourage the next generation to do the same. Thank you all for being here, for keeping her legacy alive, and for believing, as she did, in the power of knowledge, conversation, and community. Now let's get on to the main event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And now it's time for tonight's... Yes, absolutely. And now it's time for tonight's presentation. Every year, our lecture committee carefully chooses a distinguished speaker to delve into important subjects, profound inquiries, and contemporary concerns, aiming to ignite insightful discussions and foster a deeper admiration for the boundless creativity of the human mind. By presenting innovative and diverse viewpoints, along with inspiring narratives of bravery that drive change and inspire action, we strive to encourage diverse perspectives and a proactive approach to shaping our world. And isn't this what public libraries are all about? The focus of this year's lectures is on changing attitudes toward disability. Disability issues affect all Americans, and the disability community is the only minority group that one can join at any time. Yet, disability is rarely discussed at public forums. This year's lectures aim to inspire a deeper understanding and acceptance of people living with disabilities. Tonight's speakers, Shane and Hannah Burcaw, run a successful YouTube channel called Squirmy and Grubs, which currently has 1.8 million subscribers and over 800 million views. Shane is the award-winning author of 3 books about disability, and he and Hannah just published their first co-authored book, Interabled. Tonight, Interabled is available for purchase in the lobby by Moonraker Books, and following the presentation, Shane and Hannah will be in the lobby to sign your copies. In all of their work, Shane and Hannah strive to combine information and humor to educate people about living with a disability and to share their perspectives on interabled relationships. They have been featured on media outlets like The Today Show and The New York Times, and have spoken to hundreds of audiences about ableism, accessibility, and relationships. After the presentation, we will have time for questions, so please remain in your seats. And now, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Shane and Hannah Burcaw.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I was so worried that as I came up onto this rug that my wheels were going to get hot. and it was going to be a whole thing,
Oh no,
but I nailed it.
you did. Good job.
All right, so before we get into it, I have a problem. I also have a solution. I don't know if it's a good solution.
Oh boy.
Yesterday, Hannah and I had dinner at Stillwater Fish
No,
House.
saltwater.
Saltwater?
I wrote it down so you wouldn't forget the name.
You wrote the name.
Yeah.
Hi, I did the rug so well, and now I'm saying the wrong name. We had dinner at Saltwater Fish House.
There you go.
And Oshavar, yes, round of applause is definitely in order. It's like a block from here, if you don't know. And I ordered fish and chips. And they were, without a doubt, the best fish and chips I've had in my entire 32 years of life.
Wow.
I am not being hyperbolic. I wept. I shivered. I giggled with joy in the restaurant. The tartar sauce had like this special
Okay.
mmm.
Let's move it along.
So now, here we are,
What's the problem?
19 hours by car from where we live,
Oh no.
and I'm realizing, like, okay, we have to come up here once a week from now on, or like relocate
Oh,
to
move
Whidbey Island.
for the fish and chips.
I don't know if we're ready to relocate for a single item at a restaurant. However, my real solution is I think that instead of doing our talk tonight, we're just going to end it here. We're all going to go over to the fish house and hope that they can see us. Anyway, hi everyone, I'm Shane,
I'm Hannah.
and we are very happy to be here. Honored to be here as a part of this series. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you. Tonight we are going to share our love story with you. We're going to talk about some of the stigmas and misconceptions that we have faced and that many disabled people face in their lives. And our biggest goal is to make disability a more accessible topic, to make people feel comfortable learning about it, talking about it, even laughing about it, hopefully, if we do our job right. And so Hannah and I have been YouTubers now for how long?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah,
Never thought that would be a title that we
I know.
use in public, but here we are, as well as writing about disability. So again, just really happy to be here. To start, I think we should go back to the very beginning and talk a little bit about my disability. Oh, I have a disability, by the way. I hope someone out there is like, wait, what? I was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy at the age of like 11 months. My parents noticed that I wasn't developing physically like other children my age, and so they took me to the doctor, and they were like, is our baby just lazy, or what's happening here? The doctors did all kinds of gruesome tests and discovered that I have spinal muscular atrophy. They told my parents he's never going to crawl, he won't walk, he's going to need a lot of physical assistance throughout his life. And my parents made a decision that I give them so much credit for and thanks for in that moment. Probably not that moment. That was probably maybe a little bit later. But they decided that, SMA was not going to stop me from living a happy, adventurous, successful life like any other kid, and that together as a family, we were going to figure it out and have a good life. And this story is an example of that.
Yeah, I think they might have sometimes taken that approach a little too far,
Yeah.
as we'll hear about now. So Shane has a younger brother named Andrew, and when Shane was about 9, I would say, right?
Yeah.
And Andrew was 6, Andrew decided that he really wanted to dunk a basketball. And they had a basketball hoop in their driveway, and Shane wanted to help his younger brother, very nice of you, to dunk the basketball. And so he came up with a plan, and he told Andrew to go in the garage and find some rope.
And Andrew, innocent little 6-year-old Andrew, trusting his wise older brother, went into the garage and brought out like a mile of nautical grade rope. I don't know why my parents had this much rope. We probably shouldn't talk about that. You didn't hear that. Brings the rope out. I'm like, great. Tie one end of it around your waist. And so he begins tying it around his waist. I said, good. Now take the other end and throw it up through the basketball hoop and bring it down and tie it to my wheelchair.
It's very advanced
I see
for a
some of
9-year-old.
you, yeah. I see some of you envisioning this pulley system of your nightmares. I began to reverse my chair, and my brother instantly screamed out in pain. He
Naturally.
didn't have a shirt on. It was summer. And the rope dug into his side pretty intensely.
So you stopped?
Nope. I said, all right. I lowered him down, and I said, all right, go inside and find some pillows. Andrew came back with the brand new couch pillows my mom had recently acquired. And I said, good, now put those in between the rope and your body to protect you.
That's so nice.
I think it's ingenious. And so Andrew did, because he's trusting me still, against all reason. And I begin to reverse again, and it works. Andrew begins to levitate. 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. He's getting higher and higher, dangling in the air like a butterfly. And when he is about a foot away from being able to dunk, he has the ball in his hand, he is ready. He gets a lot heavier. And my chair is no longer able to lift him the last foot that he had to go. I don't know why it happened. I think it's science related, science adjacent. But I am in full reverse, and we're not moving, either one of us. My wheels are spinning. I notice, I smell, and then I see smoke billowing out of the back of my chair. But we persevere. And I'm reversing and reversing and reversing, and our neighborhood is filling with smoke.
And at that moment, Shane's dad looks out the window,
Yeah,
And
rough
sees-
timing there.
sees this happening, runs outside. He's doing a mixture of laughing and trying not to laugh and yelling at them. He gets Andrew down safely. Andrew is fine in this story. And he tells Shane that playtime is over. You have to go inside for the rest of the day. You're done. This was very irresponsible.
I'm glad that you were using your wheelchair, but not like that. So, I lowered my brother back down to the ground in utter defeat. My dad begins to untie my wheelchair, and I begin to drive inside, pouting. And I find that my wheelchair can only turn left, which is not what a wheelchair is supposed to do. Upon further inspection, my dad discovered that all that smoke was my gear motors shredding themselves at the replacement cost of $8,000. So we were in trouble. And thank God for insurance and what they don't know, because I guarantee we did not tell them the truth on that claim. This is obviously a silly example, but it's a great example of how, even from an early age, we, being me, my family, my brother, my friends, we found ways to get me involved and have fun and have a good time. We were creative when it came to my disability, often to the bodily harm of my brother. But we had a good time, and that kind of carried throughout the rest of my life. I'm going to bring you through my life real fast. I went to high school and graduated. I went to college in Pennsylvania, where I lived, and I got a degree in writing. I published my first book while I was in college about my life, and I founded a nonprofit organization called Laughing at My Nightmare that has since then provided over $1 million in assistive technology to disabled people all over the country. Thank you. But then I got to the good part.
Is that me?
When Hannah came into my life.
Thank you.
And so Hannah, do you want to talk about how we met?
Yes. So Shane and I met 9 years ago now. We just celebrated our 9th anniversary.
Wow.
Yes. Thank you. When I was a freshman in college in Minnesota, and Shane had just graduated from college in Pennsylvania. So we were living really far apart. And one of my favorite actors from my favorite show, The Office, had a YouTube channel where he made a mini documentary about Shane, and it was about the nonprofit and the book. And you didn't mention your blog, but Shane had a blog at the time that was very popular. So
Remember blogging?
Yeah, blogging. I know. So I read the blog, and I just felt like we would get along really well. And so I did something that was very out of character for me, and I emailed him, just being like, "Hi, I saw this video. I love your blog." And he responded back. We started texting. We FaceTimed 2 days after that email. And I think in that first FaceTime, it was 3 hours long. We very quickly realized that we did get along very well. I was right. But we started falling in love in a matter of days, which was very inconvenient with how far apart we were living.
People often ask us, what was Hannah's experience with disability when she found out about you and emailed you and began to get to know you?
Are you posing the question to me?
Yes,
Thank you.
that was my post.
Thank
Whenever
you.
I just kind of
Love it.
end the
Glance.
sentence and look at you, that's me going, take it away.
Yeah, so I didn't have any experience really with disability before I met Shane. I didn't know anyone that used a wheelchair. So at the time, I thought that the ADA had pretty much solved any inaccessibility problems. I assumed people were generally accepting and knowledgeable, and that turned out to not really be the case. When we first met in person, I experienced things that I had never encountered before.
As you will soon hear about.
Yes.
Another common question we get is, what was Hannah's family's reaction to the fact that I used the wheelchair and Hannah was falling in love with me?
Yeah, and my parents, so when I told my mom that I had met a man online, and I was
An older
man, yeah. And I was going to Pennsylvania alone, leaving my college to go visit him. She was not pleased. I think it was every parent's worst nightmare.
That's at the beginning of a horror movie.
Yeah. Yes, she was not happy. But luckily, you were very verifiable. I could hand her your book and be like, "See, he's a real person." And they FaceTimed and liked each other right away. Obviously, now they're very close. But my parents never had a problem with Shane's disability. It was really just that first, is this person going to murder my daughter when she flies to Pennsylvania? And then once that was a no, they were really happy.
The bar was so low. Just don't kill her. That was funny. That was a refreshing, attitude from her parents, because I had dated before I met Hannah, and in several of those relationships, I had family members of my partner pretty much flat out tell them, you should not be dating him. His disability will burden you, it will ruin your life, and this is not a healthy thing to do. You can probably imagine that puts a bit of a damper on a relationship. And so to have Hannah's parents respond, how can we build a ramp? How can we make it so that you feel welcome here? How can we best support you? It was just incredible. Yay, Hannah's parents. Right. To Hannah's mom, when you inevitably watch this online, you just got a round of applause. So I think we should talk a little bit about the beginning of our relationship and what those early days were like.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about, our first date?
Maybe our first date, yeah.
Yeah, so I flew to Pennsylvania 2 months after that first email to visit in person. And Shane planned our first date, and he asked his mom, basically, where do you think we should go? And she suggested a state park that she liked, and it was 45 minutes from their house. She said there were great picnic areas, so Shane was like, great, we'll do a picnic at this state park.
Boom.
Boom, yes.
Amazing idea,
amazing,
Mom.
Yeah, amazing date.
Thank you. Because, it's early in a relationship, I'm all butterflies, and all I want is to impress Hannah, not ruin it, just have a great romantic time.
So naturally, Shane decides that we are going to get our food from, I hope that some of you have heard of this. Have you heard of Wawa or Sheetz? Sheetz or Wawa, I feel like it's about the same thing. If you haven't heard of it, it's a gas station where you fill up the tank and you can grab a quick bite. Correct?
Wawa, if you've never been there, is far from a gas station. It is one of the greatest achievements of humankind.
Wow.
It is a wonder. It is a splendor. It is a place where you can order a burrito bowl, or a smoothie, or French fries, or anything you want.
Can you also get gas there?
That's besides the point.
Okay.
We needed some quick food on the way to our big romantic picnic.
And it was very nice.
We swung by Wawa.
I'm a fan of Wawa, but I do like to tease you that that's what you picked for the picnic food. So we head to Wawa, and then we
Babe, I have somewhere so romantic.
Yeah, you
for
were
our
really
first date.
You were really excited about it too. I mean, I loved it. I was so excited for this date. So we get the food, and we're driving to the state park, and Shane is kind of pretending that he has been there before. He's not telling me that he's never been here. He's like, this is an awesome state park. They have all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
Not saying I've heard this from my mom.
No.
I
mean, how romantic is that? All right, so my mom says, turn left.
So we're driving down the road. We have it in the GPS, and the GPS just says that we have arrived. And we're kind of on a highway. We're not there.
Clearly not there.
But Shane is pretending he's like, no, don't worry. It's just just keep going a little further. It's coming up.
On the outside, I am suave. I am cool, calm, and collected. On the inside, I'm like, oh, shit. So, panicking, because we're not at the state park, I see a little clearing on the left side of the highway. And it looked like a parking lot. So I was like, oh, this must be it.
A parking lot or a construction zone? kind of like that.
Regardless, we pull in, and as we're getting out of the van, I see across the highway a old house, and it clicks in my brain. My mom had told me that at this state park there are a variety of historic homes that have been remade into like a living museum. We're here. It was an accident, but I did it. So I was like, oh yeah, over there. Like, look at that beautiful field and historic home. Let's go. So we have our picnic.
So we cross the highway and go into this.
It's not a highway.
It was like a 2-lane highway. It was like the speed limit's like 65. I think that's a highway. So we go into the fields. It is beautiful, and we set up a blanket, and we're having our picnic.
It was actually romantic.
Yes, it was. We had an amazing time, and I'm like walking around this house, taking pictures. It was beautiful, very old. So finally, we finish. We pack up our picnic. We get back in the car. We're driving home, and we pass like 2 miles down the road, the state park, which is odd. Huh.
So, I don't know whose backyard we had our adorable, cutesy, romantic picnic in.
And whose house I was peering in the windows of.
But thank you, it was lovely. We share that story because we've learned that when people find out that we're in a relationship, they often make some judgments about what a relationship must look like. And they think that it must be sad and lonely and boring and medical. They don't think it's silly and cute and full of fun misadventures and laughter and love. But our relationship started like that, and it's been laughter and beautiful memories ever since, as you'll hear more about. People are right in that a relationship is different at times than non-disabled relationships, but probably not for reasons that they are thinking about. One of the main things that sets our relationship apart from many others is that Hannah and I have to deal with ableism, which is the discrimination against disabled people founded on the idea that disabled people are less worthy than non-disabled people. We have to deal with that all the time. It's something I've dealt with my whole life as a disabled person, but once we were in a relationship, Hannah had the opportunity to experience it as well. And we have a few examples of what we call social ableism that we began to experience as we began to date.
Yes. So these are just examples of the kind of microaggressions that happen. And the first one was one of our first dates. So I think it was like the morning after the picnic. We went to a diner.
I was like, I have another date. And Hannah was like, no.
I'm not going. No, so we went to a diner right near Shane's house, and it was small. So there's like 10 other tables inside. We're having a wonderful time. And halfway through the meal, a woman from another table gets up and starts walking toward us. And she's coming up from behind Shane, so he can't see her. I don't know who this is. I assume it's like a family member or a family friend, because I haven't met anyone in Pennsylvania yet. And so she's coming up, and I'm waiting for her to say something. She's like right there. She says nothing. She puts one hand on Shane's shoulder and the other on the top of his head and begins to pray very loudly, scream pray, really, in this tiny diner. Prayers of healing, I guess you would call them.
I have no idea what's happening. This person is behind me, and suddenly I hear, Lord, please save this boy, give him, a cure, fix him, make his life better, make him happy. And at that moment, I stopped her. I said, oh, no thank you. My life is so happy. In fact, look who I'm on a date with. And you're kind of killing my vibe here. The woman sort of backed off and apologized. She said, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way." But it was clear, what she was thinking. She didn't have ill intentions. I'm not sharing this to, make fun of her, but she wasn't going around that diner praying for everyone to have a better life or a happier life. She saw me in my wheelchair and made a snap ableist judgment about me. She assumed that my life needed fixing or improving. Never crossed her mind that I was perfectly content and don't want to be cured. So we said our goodbyes to her and finished our meal and our happy life.
Yeah, and I think after that, I was like, Shane, I think we just found like the world's weirdest person, like a once in a lifetime opportunity or like experience that just happened. And Shane was like, oh, no, it happens all the time. Don't worry. And I don't think I believed him in that moment. I was like, if that's what you want to say, like, that's okay. It was really weird.
I was like, oh, public prayer, yeah.
It's a thing.
That's a Tuesday.
And you were right. It has happened many times since.
Yeah, do you want to tell them about the first date that you planned?
It was adorable.
It blows my date out of the water.
It was much later in our relationship, but so Shane visited me in Minnesota. This was probably like 9 months in or something.
Yeah.
And I took him to a lakeside music venue with a little restaurant, outdoor restaurant. It's to this day one of our favorite places in Minneapolis.
It's idyllic.
It is idyllic. And we got like food. I think you probably had like a glass of wine. We were strolling along the lake, and there's like a field next to us where a man has a big bubble wand, and he's making gigantic bubbles, and there's kids all gathered around to play with the bubbles. And we hadn't really like taken note of that until he saw us, I guess, and dropped his bubble wand and began running full speed at us from like 50 feet away.
Sprinting.
Yeah.
To the point where Hannah and I were like, should we run? Are we being chased? What is happening?
But no, he came all the way up, and he asked me, does he want to play with the bubbles? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, does he want to play with the bubbles?
Pointing at me. People love to point at me. And I said, oh, no thank you, sir. I'm 25 years old. This is my girlfriend. His jaw hit the floor. Mm-hmm. And I said, even though I did want to play with bubbles, I was like, oh, man. If only I were alone. I said, no, thank you. I appreciate it, but we're going to continue our date. Again, this guy, no ill will. He was not being malicious. He simply fell into the category of people who infantilize disabled people, kind of as a default. He saw me in my chair and assumed that I could have my day brightened with a bubble wand, which, in all fairness, was true. And then, do you want to share the final beer story?
Oh, yes. So this is another date that Shane planned. Can we really call it a date?
I think so. We'll let them decide.
We'll let you decide. We had these visits where I would fly out to Pennsylvania, and we were really excited for them. They were usually just like Friday to Sunday because I was still in college, and we would plan them in advance, everything we were going to do minute by minute. And so Shane was like, I have a surprise for this one day. It's one of my favorite places to go. You're going to love it. So I'm expecting that maybe the actual state park would have been nice. To really see it. That would have been good. But the day comes, and I'm driving. He's giving me directions where to go. And we pull up to this hideous warehouse. And I'm like, really? This is it? There's no sign or anything. Shane's like, just pull around the back of the warehouse. And I do it, which feels wrong. I feel like I should be telling you that I didn't do it, but I pulled around the back of the warehouse, and there's a big hole cut out of the building. Shane's like, drive inside.
Hannah's like, my parents were right. Yeah.
This is it. So I drive inside, and it is a drive-through beer distributor.
Right?
No.
I just needed beer. It wasn't a date. I needed a ride to the beer store.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So the guy comes up to the window.
Right.
He comes to my window because I'm driving. I don't drink beer, which Shane knew. And Shane tells me like what he wants. So I say it to the employee, but there are follow-up questions. And I don't know the answers to these questions. There's temperature, there's size, there's all these things. So I'm like, this isn't for me. Can you just, discuss the details with him? So Shane and the employee talk back and forth. They figure out what kind of beer is needed, and it's put in our car, and we pay, and the employee comes back with the receipt.
Drive through beer distributor. So cool.
Okay.
Probably the thing I miss most about living in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Also my family. And so he comes back with the receipt, and he leans in the window and changes his voice weirdly, and again points at me. People love to point. And he goes, "Does this big guy want a lollipop?" The lollipops that they have reserved for children that, begrudgingly go through the beer drive-thru with their parents.
I should have been asked if I wanted a lollipop. I deserved it.
So, in this guy's head, he just conversed with and sold beer to a child. I said, "Sir, I have a mustache. And yes, I do want a lollipop. I'll take 2. I don't want to belabor the point, but this guy was trying to be friendly. Like, he was doing a nice thing, but it was sort of based on this idea that I, as a disabled person, could have my day brightened by the lollipops that are there for children. He kind of ignored all the rest of our interaction and focused on the disability. So that's social ableism, and it's something that happens to us every time we leave the house, some form of it. And it was something that was new for Hannah and something that we try to shine a light on whenever we're able to. Another thing that kind of sets our relationship apart is experiences with inaccessibility, which is Hannah, I don't blame her for not knowing, but the ADA did not make our country fully accessible. And one of the main ways that we experience that, especially today, traveling for speaking engagements, is through air travel and the woeful inaccessibility of air travel.
Yeah, so when I was still in college, Shane had, I think at this point you moved to Minnesota. So Shane moved to Minnesota like halfway through my junior year of college. And we got an apartment together, and we started our YouTube channel like the summer after my junior year. So the fall of my senior year, we were already doing some speaking engagements and traveling for it. So that was one of these trips. And we flew from Minneapolis to Salt Lake City for a conference. And that went seamlessly.
Yeah.
When we got there, we found out that at the time, there were 2 wheelchair accessible taxis in Salt Lake City.
Hold on. 2. In an entire city.
But one of them was out of commission. So there was one. And this woman was essentially our personal chauffeur for the entire weekend because there was only one taxi. So we got to know her fairly well. And on the way home, she dropped us off at the airport. We said goodbye to our personal taxi driver,
Our new friend.
and went to our gate. And we're sitting at our gate waiting, and the people that work there are kind of eyeing us in a strange way. They're like talking, they're whispering, they're bringing over more employees. Now there's like 6 of them, and they're whispering and looking, and we're like, what is going on? Finally, they come over, and they're like, we're not sure about the size of your wheelchair. Like, this looks a little big for the plane.
Yeah, they said, I don't know if we're going to be able to fit it through the cargo door where it has to be stored for the flight. I was like, well, you have all of our info. Like, we had to give you all of that info when we made the reservation. What's up? And they were like, no, we don't have that. We change things all the time. We don't even know what day it is. They said, do you have a tape measure? Mm-hmm. I checked my pockets. I was like, no, do you? You're the airport. They said, no, we don't have a tape measure here. So they said, hold on, we have an idea. They went behind the gate counter and took out the receipt paper from the receipt printer. And they brought the whole spool of it over to me and held one end to my head, the highest most point on me, and the other end to the base of my chair. We have this hilarious photo, we don't have it with us, but of the airline employee holding up this long spool of receipt paper in the middle of a very crowded airport with like 15 people just ogling me. It's just like, what is this? What's happening?
It was an odd sight.
So they take the receipt paper back down the jetway to the plane.
To measure.
And we wait in suspense.
Yes. So they come back, and now there's more of them. They've multiplied. There's like 15, and they are looking grim. So they come up, and they're like, no, it's not going to fit. And we're like, how? I mean, maybe we can, like, tilt it. Like, how big is it? And they were like, 24 inches.
And they say to me, looking me straight in the eyes, can you make it 24 inches big? I was like, honestly, I've never tried. Pretty sure the answer is no. And they were like, okay, well then we don't have a flight for you.
And we were confused because this was the same like plane that we had taken there. So we were like, but we already were on this flight. And they said that the plane they use is based on how many people are on the flight. So there weren't enough people, and they switched the plane last minute. But we could try again tomorrow. And we were like, but what if tomorrow not enough people show up and you switch the plane again? And they were like, well, that could happen.
They were like, good point.
Yeah. And then we don't know.
I was like, okay, well, we have to get home. Hannah has class tomorrow. It's like very important that we are there.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we don't have any other flights that fit your chair. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, you do. Like, you're a huge airport. You must. And they were like, no, we don't. We're sorry. I don't think they said sorry. So this is now 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Call up our good friend, the taxi driver, who, I kid you not, answers, I'm in bed. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but we need you to come get us. So we spend a night in Salt Lake City. The next day, they did end up getting us on a plane. Not the first one, but we did end up on a plane home. And that, while it certainly is a ridiculous example, it's a great example of how inaccessible air travel is to this day, because you are not allowed to bring your wheelchair onto the cabin of the airplane, even though the technology exists. It is so simple to make happen, but there's a financial incentive for airlines to not do that, and so they don't. Fun. And so Hannah and I began our YouTube channel, I believe, in part to fight back against things like ableism and inaccessibility. And as Hannah said, it led to a lot. It wasn't until about 6 months in, though, that we kind of adopted our mission, which today is to improve the way that society understands disability. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
About our mission or about the beginning of our channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first 6 months, it was the summer after my junior year, and we were doing a road trip, and we thought it would be fun to film it and like post it, basically for our parents to watch. And after 6 months, we had about 4,000 subscribers, which we were like very impressed by, that this many people wanted to watch our videos. And at that time, we did an interview with another YouTube channel that had a couple million subscribers called Special Books by Special Kids. And their channel has changed over the years, but basically they just interview disabled people, and each episode is a different person with a disability about their life. And so we did an episode, and within a week of that episode airing, we had 100,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. Like all these people came from that video, and then that put our videos on the homepage of YouTube, and more people were seeing them. And it was amazing, but it was also the first time that we got negative comments. We just hadn't had that yet. And a lot of the comments were saying that we were faking our relationship. That was like the main idea. Like people just genuinely did not believe that we were an actual couple, and that had never occurred to us before, that might be a thought that people would have.
While we were, waiting to come on tonight, in some talks, we read a variety, a smattering of horrible comments that we've received, because we receive absolutely abhorrent stuff, dozens of times, if not hundreds of times a day.
But some of them are kind of funny, so we like to read those.
So we were like, backstage, we were like, oh, we should read some maybe. And Hannah typed into her phone, into this AI thing that helps you find stuff.
In my photos, yeah.
She wrote, can you find some mean comments about us in my photos? And it found so many that we had screenshotted over the years, that the AI wrote back, hi, this might upset you. Do you want me to show you some happier images?
Yeah. It's very nice.
But yeah, it was really, when our channel blew up, it was the first time that we had seen really vile stuff about the fact that we must be faking it, the fact that I must be paying Hannah, or that Hannah must be cheating on me, all the way up to every day we get a comment that's like, hey Shane, you should kill yourself. You're a burden on society, and we shouldn't have to pay taxes to keep you alive. Yeah, if you ever want to be a YouTuber, it's really fun. And that really led to us deciding, okay, there is clearly some misinformation out there. There is a gap in knowledge, and we can help fill that gap. And so we began making, we continue to make silly travel videos and us having fun, but it's all now with the intention of erasing that kind of mindset that leads to comments like that. And yeah, that really kicked off a whirlwind few years. We traveled, we did speeches all over the world. We were on TV a bunch of times. Remember our first TV interview with Good Morning?
This morning?
This morning?
It was like a UK show, and it was live, so we had to go to a studio in Minneapolis at 3:30 a.m., so it would be in their morning hour, and we couldn't see them. We only had an earpiece, and the delay was 10 full seconds. So
I kid you not, it was 10 seconds.
So embarrassing, yeah, because you can see the video after, and they ask a question, and we're just pretending that we can see them, so we're nodding, and then we just stare.
The whole interview is just me going, oh yeah, wait, okay, so yeah, no, go ahead, yeah, sorry. We also, a few years later, got engaged and then got married.
Thank you.
Along the way, we also reached the 1 million subscriber mark on YouTube,
Yes.
which for a YouTuber is like a big thing. And maybe the coolest of all is we had the opportunity to write a book together. As you heard in the intro, I've written a few books about my life, but this is a project where Hannah and I were able to interview and profile a handful, like 15 to 20 other interabled couples like us, and share their love stories as well as stories about our own life. And this is, it feels like a culmination of everything that we've been building towards. And meeting all those couples and hearing all the things that we had in common, and just how happy and supportive and full of love their lives were, was really a cool thing. And we're beyond proud of the book that came out a few months ago called Interabled. Is there a photo of it behind me?
No.
Yeah, I thought there was.
There was before.
There shouldn't be, it's fine. But that book, as we said, will be available tonight, and we'll be signing, so please grab it if you're interested.
Yes.
To wrap up, I think we should talk about some of the victories that we have had over the years. Occasionally when we tell people, like, we are disability advocates, and we make YouTube videos, it feels that there's this belief that, like, making YouTube videos isn't real advocacy. And we know, without a shadow of a doubt, that that is not the case, and we have a few examples of that.
Yes. So one is, which one should we start with? The TSA thing?
Yeah, sure.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
So this happened maybe like a year and a half ago. Shane and I wanted to get TSA pre-check to make our horrible airport visits a little bit better. So we sign up, we get the appointment, and we go into the testing facility. You have to get fingerprints done, a photo taken, and some identity verification stuff done. So I went first, and it took me maybe 2 minutes. It was extremely quick.
Streamlined. Just
Yes,
like the
very
TSA.
streamlined. Yeah, just like TSA. So then Shane's turn is next, and we go into the room together. And the first problem is that the fingerprinting device is bolted to the employee's desk, right in the center of it. And we realized that Shane is not going to reach that machine.
They had it bolted down because of all the fingerprint machine theft. The black market of fingerprinting machines. Or so I imagine. And so I see it on the middle of the desk, like a full body length away from me. I pull up to the desk, and there's no way I'm reaching that. So I asked, like, can we move that? And the employee says, no, it's bolted, can't you see? And so the employee's like, how about if I kind of tip the desk like this, and, like, gets on her knees and begins to, like, knock the desk over?
I mean, I have to say, she was very helpful, and none of this was her fault. So
And
this
yeah.
employee was going above and beyond to try to get us TSA pre-check.
And she was mortified that the fingerprint machine didn't move.
Yeah.
But did everything in her power to make my fingers reach that machine. There was a moment where the employee is bending the table over. Hannah is kind of like half knocking me out, like pulling me out of my wheelchair and wrenching my arm well beyond its natural position. I am doing a combination of laughing, crying, whimpering, and sweating my ass off. We fought to get my hands on that machine. I kid you not, for over a half hour. The whole time, the employee is apologizing and we're kind of making jokes about it. But more and more, I am feeling dehumanized. Like, I'm embarrassed even though I'm laughing. I'm in pain. Like, it hurts to get my arms that far out. It doesn't work.
Nope. We never got it to work.
No.
So we're like, can you just like write down that this was inaccessible and like we couldn't get the fingerprints or something? And she says, no, the only thing that I can mark down to, get rid of this screen and move on is to say that you don't have hands. And we were like, well, what happens when we arrive at the airport
With hands.
with hands? She was like, I don't know what will happen.
She was like, that is a you problem. So she marked down that I don't have hands.
Yep.
It feels like with that fact being out there, I could get away with like some crime, Like there is no record of me.
Uh-huh. That's true. No
Or
fingerprints for
there-
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to brainstorm. But that wasn't all. The appointment was only about half over, and we're 45 minutes in now.
So yeah, next is the photo. And the camera, this doesn't make any sense, but the camera was also bolted in place. Like that just doesn't, there's no need for that. But it's bolted to her desk, like on top of it, and you stand against the wall and get your photo taken. But the area to stand is like 18 inches wide. So Shane can't get in there. And we're like, well, we can just like take the camera over here, right? Of course, the answer is no, absolutely not.
She says, I don't think you get it. Everything in this office is bolted down. Nothing moves here.
But
My chair doesn't move.
But we needed the photo. There was no bypassing the photo.
She's
So we-
like, I was like, just say it on the head.
That's true. So we get a stool, and we put a stool in front of the camera, and I stand next to it with my knee, like my foot on the stool, and my
Oh, we
knee
should
up.
do a live demonstration.
We could, but it would take a while. So my knee is up on the stool, and I take Shane out of his chair and
I doubt I'm small.
yeah, and sit him on my knee in front of the camera. Kind
Like
of
a
this.
marionette puppet. Right out of your nightmares. I hope someone dreams about that tonight.
It kind of worked. I think we got like lower lip up because it wasn't quite high enough, but
Yeah.
it worked. Like she submitted the photo, and somehow we did get TSA pre-check, which is remarkable from what you submitted. Yes, very impressive.
So we go home, and we do what we always do. Well, first we fume for about 4 hours, and then we make a YouTube video about the experience. Not to, throw shade on the employee or anything like that, but rather just to highlight this awful accessibility so that people are aware of it.
And it was a little bit funny.
It was,
It was a little bit
It was
funny.
like, by the time we ended up making the video,
Yeah.
we found it hilarious in a horrible kind of
Yeah,
way.
just a little funny.
But that's life. And so we make this video, we post it, and people are fired up, they're angry, they can't believe it. That is like the power of advocacy right there. It's just like getting people aware of an issue so that they can get fired up and take action. And the next day, we wake up to an email from the head of the TSA.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my stomach fell out of me. And so I begin to read, nervous that I'm going to jail. And instead of anger, I read that they are appalled by this inaccessibility that they were not aware of at their testing facilities. And they're apologizing, and they are outlining 8 steps that they are taking to immediately resolve the issues. Thank you. They said that they will be sending 500 iPads to every testing facility in the U.S. so they can do mobile fingerprinting and photography. Don't know why it took them that long to figure that out. They were like, oh, it's 2024. Okay. They were going to implement training and a variety of practices that will make the TSA pre-check process accessible. Hannah and I couldn't believe it. But it is now something that we can point to and say, look, making a YouTube video, a silly, stupid YouTube video, resulted in systemic improvements. Thank you. I just think it really speaks to the power of a personal narrative and how important it is to share your story. You want to talk about the bullies a little bit? And then
Yeah. And then another thing that's come from our videos has been a couple of times we've had someone who has left a ton of mean comments. And occasionally we'll know these people by their username. So Shane will be like, ugh, Rose commented again. And I'll be like, oh, what'd she say this time?
She says you're fake.
Yeah, it's usually just the same thing again and again. But
she says she can tell that you're lying.
But this was a real account. Her name was Rose, and she would comment all the time on every video, just something negative, that we were faking it or whatever.
Or that I was going to ruin your life.
Yeah, something like that. And one day, we woke up to an email from Rose. And she said that she had watched more of our videos. And she was like, you might know me from my username. We were like, oh, we do, Rose, we do. She says that she's watched a lot of our videos, and she has recently realized that she was extremely uninformed about disability, and that by seeing our relationship and seeing how we are together, she's realized that she has a lot of work to do on how she views disability. And she apologized and began leaving nice comments for years and years.
Yeah.
So she genuinely changed her viewpoint, which feels impossible when you're talking about people who are doing that on the internet.
To get an online hater or troll to say I'm sorry is unheard of.
Yeah.
Thanks. But we've had a few of those moments now, moments where we can point to something and say, look, we are improving mindsets. We are giving people experience and knowledge. And at the end of the day, that's what it takes to improve ableism, which will in turn improve inaccessibility. So we are proud YouTubers, you know. I make jokes about it, but we're advocates, and we believe that YouTube and social media are a powerful tool for advocacy. Finally, we want to end with just what we can all do to be better allies to the disabled community, and we have a few kind of little take-home tidbits that you can think about in your daily life. Do you want to begin?
Sure. So the first one is to speak up about inaccessibility. And through the years, we've realized that this is sometimes all it takes. There have been moments where we're trying to go to a shop that has a step, or one time we were trying to buy tickets to a show on Broadway and you couldn't buy them online, you had to call. And all it took in all of these cases was an email to the establishment being like, just so you know, this is inaccessible and this is how you could do it differently. And they'll immediately write back apologizing, saying they had no idea, and implementing the solution. And that's happened time and again. So a lot of the times, the inaccessibility is just a complete oversight and the people have no idea.
Yeah.
So we found that has solved a lot of the issues that we've encountered.
Just send a little email.
Yeah. A little terse
Crazy.
email.
Hey, by the way, when Hannah does it, it's paragraphs. But another one is to celebrate and embrace diversity. That round of applause is for all of you, because you're doing that right now. Series like this are so important that we continue elevating disabled voices, diverse voices, so that we don't lose sight of the fact that something that makes us all so beautiful are our differences. We need to make that not a bad thing. So A+ to all of you.
Yes. Another one is to keep learning. So we follow tons of disabled people on social media and all different disabilities, all different types of people, and find that we are still learning new things every day. When we were writing our book and interviewing all of the other couples, we were learning new things. So a way to just keep expanding your viewpoints is through other people's perspectives, and social media has been such an easy way to do that for us.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you're seeing other people's viewpoints often.
Yeah. The last one that we'll share is just, if you are a disabled person, remember that you're worthy. And that sounds so simple, but living my entire life with a disability, there have been so many times when the messages that I received from society made me doubt whether I was worthy. There were not a ton of disabled role models for me growing up in the media, and so at times I internalized all of those messages and began to believe them and feel that I was not worthy of all the same things that non-disabled people are. That is not true. It's not reality. We have had the privilege of knowing thousands of incredible disabled people in the time that we've been doing this, and they've taught me that I am worthy of everything that I want in life. And so again, I know it sounds very simple, but remember that you're worthy and that you belong. And that is my spiel before I get emotional. Thank you again, everyone, for coming tonight. We have time for questions, but again, just want to thank the Trudy Sundberg Lecture Series for having us, and all of you for being here.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you. So we have people with microphones. I don't know where they are.
Over there.
Raise your hand.
So much for your beautiful, beautiful love story. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm a retired RN. One of my assignments when I was doing travel nurse was working in a rehab unit where we had a lot of young people with severe spinal cord injuries and paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I was very depressed seeing these young people having such severe injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I took away from that was the director of nurses kept saying to me, don't look at what they've lost, look at what they're going to gain.
Yeah.
And that they still have life. And then one of our nurses married a man such as yourself, a young man who had no feelings. He only felt above the nipple line.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always tell us about the wonderful life they had. So there is a lot of people that don't understand that, and I'm glad, so happy that you're doing this, because many people don't have that experience, and they need to.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
I appreciate that.
So much.
So, being a Christian, I believe that we have a purpose. And I'm looking at you two, and, even though you have a disability, you have a purpose in life and you are accomplishing things. And I am just incredibly proud to be here listening to you two. And so I'm just giving you a thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Okay, your YouTube channel's called Squirmy and Grubs. Which is Squirmy, which is Grubs, and why?
The $1 million question that we can never avoid.
Yes, I think the fact that we named our YouTube channel Squirmy and Grubs shows that we never thought anyone would see it or ask us that question. So
Wait, we have a funny story about this.
I know. Well,
All right,
it's
go
not,
ahead.
It's
No,
not
no,
that
no,
funny.
no,
It's
go
kind
ahead.
of, it's awful. So yes, Squirmy, I am Squirmy. They're nicknames that we gave each other very early in our relationship. Shane called me Squirmy because he claims that I squirm around in bed in my sleep and keep him awake. And then that's true. I've always been told I fidget in my sleep, so I believe you.
Thank you for acknowledging it.
I know, it is true. I usually am no, I don't, but I do it. So I keep him awake. And then I call Shane Grubs because his hands are always sweaty and grubby, just a little grubby. So they're not very nice.
I don't know, it's just like our cute little nicknames for each other. The funny story, though, is that like a week ago, we had an interview with a large publication, I'll say, and the interviewer asked the same question. We told him, and at the end of it, at the end of this same explanation, he was like, "Oh, whoa, we're not gonna print that." And like it was kind of said in passing, like we moved on, and then afterwards, him and I were both like, "Did he mishear us?"
Yeah.
Like, it didn't seem like that. And his reaction was so big, like,
Yeah.
"Oh wow!" Like,
Whoa
"Oh,
there.
whoa!"
Yeah, it was a
I
lot.
was like, "Okay." So then the next day, he emails something else and ends it with, "By the way, I am just now recovering from your name origin story, but that's what Xanax is for." And I was like, okay, the dude definitely misheard us. So I awkwardly reply and say, "I'm just making sure you didn't mishear what our names are about." And
Because this feels important that
Yeah.
he knows that like it's not. Yeah, this isn't the right reaction.
So I read it out. I explained the cute, innocent, kind of origin, and he replies, "No, that's what I heard." So I suppose that either rolling in bed or
Yeah.
sweaty palms are a big, big problem to this person.
He did not like it.
Thank you. Other questions here in the front?
So I am also in an interabled relationship with this guy next
Congrats.
to me. Thank you. So similar to you guys, he's dealt with disability all his life, and I've, only been a part of his life for like 5 years at this point. So there's some times when I get more enraged over an inaccessibility or like ableism thing than he does. And so, Hannah, question for you. How do you deal with that if that happens to you? And like, how do you deal with like knowing when to advocate for Shane versus when to let him, decide when to advocate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, absolutely, that is our dynamic, like to a T. When we first started dating, I feel like everything that happened, I was like, we need to fix that. Like whatever that person just said, let's teach them what they should have said, or like, let's go into that store and tell them they need a ramp, that kind of thing. And Shane was like always on the side of, no, it's no big deal. Like everything that happened is no big deal. So I think over the years we've met more like just in the middle of like what really is worth, because at the beginning I think I didn't realize how often things would happen. Like you can't spend your whole life teaching every single person what they need to know, and you can't go into every inaccessible place and try to make them accessible. So I think I was just a little overzealous at the beginning, and we've settled into a medium of like what is worth our time, what seems like it can be fixed, and what should we just let go.
Hannah absolutely, makes me a much better advocate. I am so not the confrontational type, and I'd prefer to just laugh about something, but Hannah has helped me learn that you do need to take action sometimes. So, yeah, Hannah. Thank you.
Hi there. This is a bit of a teaser for anyone who's not read Interabled yet. Buy the book. It is incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, buy the book.
We hired her to be here.
Of course. I drove from Seattle. It's fine. So would you say that the fish and chips you had last night were on par with Hannah's Denny's spaghetti and meatballs?
I don't know, Shane. What do you think?
Yeah, it's sad that we have to make that comparison, first of all.
There was something about the spaghetti and meatballs at that horrible Denny's that it's beyond reason. It was so good.
Denny's will always hold a special place in Hannah's heart. Sad that we will never eat there again.
I know. Whenever we pass a Denny's, I'm like, should we? Shane's like, no. So I don't think I've ever been back since I had that really good spaghetti meatballs.
I like to think that the fish and chips were better, but
I think they were better.
I think it might. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Or fish and chips are in the You get it. Thank you.
Hi, Shane. I just want to say that you're a huge inspiration to me, which there's not a whole lot of people these days at all. I started following you guys' story about probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I was just coming out of a kind of a dark place in my life, just kind of not fitting in. I'm from a small town that is completely not very accessible, and also not a whole lot of respect over there with people like me. And my whole life I kind of felt out of place, and the difference I think between you and I is that you're so calm and laid back, and you just live. You just you like to be happy, you like to have a good time, and I do as well. But I also faced a lot of ableism, and just a lot of bullying, a lot of put downs, a lot of belittling, and all of that. And unfortunately, I developed. I have a short temper, and so I didn't always handle things the way that I should have. And I think that if I handled things differently, like you did, maybe the outcome, would have been different in some situations. So I was just really happy to be able to come here tonight, and it just you inspired me to start my own YouTube channel as well.
I love it.
And also, I'm all over social media as well. It didn't really take off as much as I was hoping. I also have done some public speaking as well, and I was doing it a few times. Unfortunately, it didn't really take off. So I'm struggling to kind of get that going, but I guess I just really grateful to be here, and yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that so much. Also, I can't turn my head to the right, so I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I was listening. I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm sorry that you've had to go through those rougher things. I would just encourage you to keep trucking and keep doing the YouTube stuff and the social media stuff, as long as it keeps bringing you joy and you feel passion for it. Like we said, there have been moments where we really doubt if we're doing the right thing, but ultimately I think it's worth it. So thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, Shane and Hannah. Wait, is this on? Is it on?
There you go.
Hi guys. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. I just want to say I've been watching your YouTube channel for about 5 years now.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm so happy to hear you speak. I wanted to ask about your friendship with Cole and Charisma, and how that's affected you guys, and the relatability, and being able to be encouraged by them and everything. I'm just curious to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great question.
We have to remember this will be online, so.
Yeah, they can see it. They're great. No.
Cole and Charisma are wonderful.
No, so if you don't know, Cole and Charisma are another interabled couple. They also have a YouTube channel. Cole has a spinal cord injury, so he uses a wheelchair, and Charisma is his wife and also does caregiving for him, just a very similar dynamic to us. And we talk about this in our book, actually, how we met them. And the first meeting, I don't want to take too long, but the first meeting wasn't great. They said some things that we thought were a little weird, and then they thought that we didn't like them. We were I was nervous. It was just a little
Things were off, yeah.
Things were off. So we were just acquaintances with them for 3 years, I
Yeah.
guess, after that. And then we...
Acquaintances, but also, like, rivals.
Yeah.
Like, we were both, like, in the same space of YouTube, and so we were always kind of, like, comparing ourselves to them, and just like, original, like, they got more views than us. Like.
Well, we were doing all the exact same things, yeah. So then we were both in LA at the same time and decided to get dinner. This was like our first time being in the same state after that first initial meeting. And they lived in Virginia, and we were in like Pennsylvania and Minnesota. So it wasn't just that we like didn't get along. We just really never saw them again until this dinner in LA. And we just hit it off. I don't know what was different about the second time. I think we both matured in those 3 years.
We like all cried at different. Yeah. Well, we went back to their apartment, and then we were like,
we had a heart to heart,
and having a heart to heart, and we all cried. We were like, we couldn't believe that it turns out that the things that we were thinking about each other were all just like misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And instead, we wasted 3 years like not being friends with them. Mm-hmm. We all just like had this amazing bonding moment where we realized that all four of us saw life the same way. We had so many similar experiences.
And that was 3 years ago now. So like that kicked off our friendship. We went through IVF at the same time, and like
we moved to LA to live near them.
Yeah, we were like, we'll just move to you. Like, we'll just come to you. And like, funny, now they actually just moved to Minnesota because they wanted to leave LA, and we were like, why don't you go to Minnesota, where we go for like half the year? And now they're there, so now we're gonna live with them there. We are very, very close, obviously. So that's been amazing, like having another couple who are going through so many of the same things. We can talk about our jobs together. We can talk about our relationships. We can talk about like IVF when we were doing it, all these different things that just were so like in line with each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been
We
wonderful.
love them.
I do.
I should try on the band.
You should hone that skill.
I should practice
Start
that.
trying to cry.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Anyway, thank you for your question and for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can probably do like one or two more. Just want to be mindful of our time.
How much time?
Okay. Hi, thank you for coming. I feel like I learned so much, and that's the wonderful thing about the Trudy Sundberg series. I'm really grateful to you, and I plan to get your book. I'm excited to read it. I guess my big question for you as an able-bodied individual is, what would you recommend to try to educate myself and to try to relearn the biases that have been built in my mind from birth? I guess like anti-ableism, is that it? I don't know if that's a term. I want to learn about it.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So you nailed it. One of the first things I would recommend, there's a book called The Anti-Ableist Manifesto by Tiffany Yu.
There's also Demystifying Disability by Emily Ladau.
Yes.
That's a good one.
My point is, there are a variety of books today about that exact topic.
And Crip Camp, for sure.
Yeah, you talk about that?
Yeah, so there's a documentary. Is it on Netflix? Like, do you know off the top of your head? It might be on Netflix. But there's a documentary called Crip Camp that came out a few years ago that's kind of about the disability rights movement and how it began. It's an amazing documentary, so I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, and then beyond that, I think consuming content made by disabled people, like our YouTube channel. But no, there's so many people doing what we're doing now, and I think that that's the best way. It's just to like consume it for entertainment, and along the way, it will help you kind of reframe some of your thoughts about disability. So, yeah. Thank you.
Hello, Shay. Hello, Hannah.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming to our island.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So this is a random question, but what was for each of you, your favorite memory in high school and why?
Ooh.
Favorite memory in high school?
Shit. Favorite memory. Oh man. This is a hard one.
Oh, I know my answer. Do you want me to go first?
Go for it, yeah.
So I homeschooled the last 2 years of high school for just like a variety of reasons, mainly because I just wanted to, and I thought that would be a fun idea, and it was. I loved it.
Mainly, I just wanted to.
Yeah, so I did like
you
a
were
bunch.
swimming very hard.
Yeah, I was a swimmer, so like I had a lot of swimming in my schedule, and school was just like a lot, and so but I did a bunch of programs. Like I did do school. That sounds like I didn't do school.
No.
And my favorite memory was I did an environmental science class with like a group of other homeschool kids. And we did this 2 years in a row. We did a competition called the Envirothon. And the first year we got 11th place, probably out of like 12. Like we didn't do well at all. But we were determined. And the next year we won. So that is my favorite high school memory, winning the Envirothon.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
I didn't know you won in Envirothon.
Oh my God. He's teasing because I feel like I bring it up a lot.
I've heard the word Envirothon almost every day for 9 years. Okay, mine, this is not my favorite memory because that's too hard. But funniest memory, or a funny memory, in 11th grade, I was in an adaptive gym class where me and other disabled students played adaptive sports. And one of the assistants in that class was one of the cheerleaders from our high school who I had a big crush on. And on one day, I wanted to impress this cheerleader, and so we were playing soccer, adaptive soccer, on a tennis court, where we brought out soccer balls, and I was basically just using my wheels to like knock the ball around. It was fun, but I wanted to impress my crush, so I was like, all right, I am gonna show you how far I can hit the soccer ball. Thinking that this would make her be like, oh my God. Do you want to be my boyfriend? It's flawless logic. So I had them put the ball on the pavement. I backed up like a football field's distance, went full speed at the ball, and that ball happened to be a little bit too deflated. And my chair went up over the ball and threw me out of it. I landed on my head, which knocked me out. Oh my God. When I woke up, I was laying on the ground in a crumpled little pile, bleeding out of my head, and the gym teacher came over and was like, oh my God, what do I do, what do I do? And I was like, just lift me back into my chair. She obviously doesn't like me now. After much fanfare about ambulances and all kinds of stuff, they began to try to move me, and we discovered that I had fractured my femur in the process. So it didn't end up being very attractive or suave of me. It was more of like a nightmare. And we never did date, but I don't know why. That's my memory. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, so we're a little bit over on time, so I feel like we should probably be what?
I was gonna say, is that it?
Oh, yeah. That's it.
You're just calling it?
I'm calling it.
Okay.
We're gonna go out and sign books, so come say hi. We can talk to you more there as well. Thank you again. You've all been amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Give them my everything.
And I have just a couple of quick announcements before we go. First, who is excited about the new Langley Library? I hope you can all join us tomorrow at 11 for the ribbon cutting ceremony, and there will be activities all day. And then please save the date for the next year's Trudy Sundberg Lecture Series, March 20th, 2026. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next year.